Hello, hello. How's it going, everybody? How's it going? The camera moved. Well. Oh well. I am probably going to shift things around a little bit here soon. Soon. There's always things to do. How's everybody doing? Fun announcement. We've been doing a bunch of announcement streams, I guess, lately. Tauri V2 beta. We're not quite there yet, but this is an important milestone. It's like bugs, polish, docs. Those are probably going to be the biggest things that need to be taken care of. So as far as stability of APIs go, there's likely going to be less churn in the beta as opposed to the alpha, if that wasn't obvious. But this is a good place to check in, see where things are at. I think we might actually, depending on the time, we might try to upgrade one of our V1 apps that we built on stream. And I guess we'll see how that goes, and we'll see what kind of changes we have to make. I've only made fresh V2 projects. I haven't actually tried a migration yet. So we'll see what that process looks like, and then hopefully, I mean, we're into February. Depending on how this beta goes, I would expect V2 come in the scope of open source soon. I'm sure there's people that want it now, but input, testing things out, make sure all that polish is there. I always help writing docs is gonna help make that happen faster. So I guess let's just jump right in. I pulled up the website, and if you go to the main Tauri.app website, there's a link in the blog that goes now to the beta site, and we've switched the blog over to the beta site. And we have an announcement there. I haven't actually had it. I've read all this stuff in the background, but I haven't actually looked at the the announcement yet. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely been a long road. It's not nearly as long as V1, but that mobile support definitely pushed the time requirements to get this done. Released Tauri V2 beta.0. And there's I guess it's more of a high level roadmap, but beta RC stable. So feature complete and no major known issues, which is kind of a big deal especially for the mobile stuff, since there's a lot of new things there, and there's been low level internal shifting happening in response to the mobile support, but it seems like it's been net positive even for the desktop side of things. So it's sort of forced needed organization. And I think we just got the security audit done, which is what marks the end of the beta period. Or wait, am I mixing that up? Gosh, timelines. I haven't been involved in this security audit for V2 at all. I honestly can't remember if we're getting into it or if we're getting out of it. But either way, if you're interested in what goes into that, we're working with the same company that worked with us last time. and we end up getting this like PDF report that goes through all the things that need attention. Some of these are issues that need to be resolved, and they tend to get resolved before this, in like typical security best practices and what's the word I'm looking for? Where somebody says there's a bug and then it gets fixed before it actually gets announced. I can't think of the word. Hopefully that doesn't. Hopefully that's not a theme for this stream. Daughter's not been sleeping well, so my brain is kind of. What can you do? I signed up for it. Actually, let's go back to that. Where was it? Roadmap. So beta RC stable. RC phase is going to be time locked. I don't think we did that last time. But yeah, ideally we're going to deal with a lot of the documentation in beta. Once we get into that, or once we click around in the beta site, you'll kind of see why I'm saying that. The RC ideally is going to be more for like polish on the docks. And then some other stuff. Okay. So the changes, like we said, mobile is a big deal. Both in terms of like, I think feature-wise, I think it has potential to like have ecosystem type changes, or ecosystem level changes. I guess we'll see how that settles out. I'm particularly interested in like what are the performance characteristics and what makes sense as a mobile Tauri app versus what might push one to do native over this. But that's something that we'll probably dig into further as we get closer into like RC territory and such. We've reworked the permissions a bit. Yeah, so it was. We can make this a tad bigger here. There we go. So the allow list was in a place where it didn't allow the appropriate amount of verbosity to describe like these more fine-grained permissions. And multi-window support is both multi-window and multi-web view, which I don't think multi-web view is really going to come into V2 in a big way. But some of these changes, we could see that they were going to be needed. And it's kind of nice to group the breaking changes as much as you can. And that's this camera. I don't know why it's so low. It's really kind of bugging me. I feel like the arm is just like not strong enough for the angle I have it at. But and that's helpful too. Scopes for specific windows and remote URLs, which is not something we had before. There was so when we were saying that mobile pushed the whole Tauri foundation forward in a good way. As I understand, like this is kind of part of it. As we were reconfiguring stuff to work with mobile, IPC and how we were approaching that got more attention. So IPC uses custom protocols, which is more reminiscent to how the WebView handles regular HTTP-based communication. We have a pull request link. Nice, I didn't know that. Nice, Hammer. Yeah. So that's probably something that we're going to, and like I said, ecosystem type. Not only like within the Tauri stack, but just like low-level ecosystem type changes have been happening that I think are going to make are what are providing the foundation to push V2 and what I'm sure is going to end up being V3 forward. Multi-web view. Yeah, so this is still an unfinished feature hidden behind an unstable cargo feature flag. So it's and the fact that we could group a bunch of these changes together, I think, is enabling this, and this is going to allow us to, because this is sort of like a new paradigm. So it's in the same vein of, if you're familiar with like the JavaScript ecosystem, where once Babel came onto the scene and you were able to immediately use APIs in your code that reflected like ongoing unstable type code changes. Say that a different way. With Babel, you were able to use like browser level features that were being discussed but not yet implemented immediately in your JavaScript, with the expectation that some of them might eventually break if the spec changed, but you could immediately try it out. And that was important because it allowed people the space and ability to experiment with these APIs. So rather than just being these high-level abstract discussions, allowing people to basically poke at it and try it out and see how it feels, I think is important to the API design. So like this move, I think, is going to be nice. It's not released and probably is going to see some changes by the time we roll around to V3. But I mean, if depending on how it all shakes out, this could end up just being a minor release where we mark it as stable. Menu and tray icons. So you can only configure them via Rust. So now you can do it in JavaScript too. I can understand why people appreciate this. I don't honestly, it's not a game changer for me personally. I was perfectly fine just doing it in Rust. Partly because like the reasons I was using these were just, it was more of just like a placeholder. It was a place to be able to click it. I could actually see this being useful for I get, like notifications or chat apps, where you want to modify or adjust the icon based on the context. I could maybe see that making sense. And potentially like hiding window menus in cases where it makes sense. Depending on the time we have. We did a stream a couple weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, 2-3. I don't remember now. Let's take a gander real quick. We did a stream on a bunch of weeks ago. Okay, I guess 3 weeks ago. All right, not as, I guess technically 4, depending on. I think this is going to roll over to 4 weeks here. But the window controls is basically a way that you can easily add these window controls on the JavaScript side of things. So I kind of wonder if like something like this, where you were handling it all in the web view, now with these changes, does it make sense to lift some of that up to the actual like native window itself? All right, so one of the most requested features is native context menus. And this is very much a theme where we are like working on the internals and the low level stuff to get stuff to get the code in a place where we can more easily extend it. And part of that was pulling out this library that we dubbed the Muda menu utilities. So basically the menu pieces of our windowing, we pulled them out into a separate crate, and that we'll see how it all ends up settling out, but that was one of the bigger pieces that led to it making sense for us to fork Winit and run with our own fork of Winit for the moment. We'll see how it all shakes out, but there's potential that these paths could reconverge. More window APIs. The app that we're going to upgrade has some of those, or uses the window APIs. So we'll see what we have and what makes sense there. Like we might end up digging into that. Mobile APIs. Okay, we're currently being audited. Did we go into audit? I don't know. I would have to look it up. Audit is happening. The timeline is apparently just right out of my brain right now. That is why we have a team. So not everybody needs to be the one pushing every piece of the boat forward, as it were. Okay. Yep. Stability, it's not stable yet, but no major changes are expected. So that was one of the criteria that we wanted for beta. If we are not expecting any more major changes, that's time to start looking at shifting it into beta, because that final commit going from alpha to beta isn't significant. It's just it's more of it's almost a visibility thing. We are declaring the APIs in a place where it makes sense to have more people poke at it and put more eyes on it. So when something is an alpha, you're sort of like pre-filtering interest. So people are only going to be, you're not necessarily going to be interested in trying it out at alpha, but you might be more likely to try it out once it gets more stable. So depending on your appetite or interest in dealing with bugs, that's going to sort of like alpha versus beta versus RC versus stable is going to pre-filter the people that are interested in trying it out. And getting feedback and understanding the changes that are necessary is helpful, but too much of there can be too much of a good thing. So it's a balance. You know, we want to telegraph that there may be issues, and you need to understand that you would deal with issues and you shouldn't necessarily use this in a production environment. But we do want people to try it out and give us feedback. So long story short, alpha to beta, hopefully that switch telegraphs that we're interested in getting more eyes on things and people poking around and testing it out to help stabilize. All right, so let's go back just a little bit on our zoom level. So as we had kind of mentioned for the docs, we have, it looks like we've got a fair number of docs. A bunch of them are stubbed out. Some of them just need to be shifted over. Like file system, dialog, deep linking is a new thing, so that would probably need to be pretty fresh. What else? What hasn't really changed too much? I don't think store has changed too much. So like some of these things are either like new pieces or explaining, like here, like updater, stronghold. They're exposing these plugins in a bigger way than we were before, and so that like some of these pieces are not going to be new necessarily, but the readmes or the explanations might be. So there's a lot of stubs, and that's definitely why we've highlighted the fact that we want to garner interest in people helping out with pushing the docs forward, because the docs are always writing good docs is not easy. Even if you're the one that wrote the code, doesn't mean that you ideally there's going to need to be some communication on how to use the APIs. But it is a very much a separate skill set. Communication versus, it's like a different language. Writing in code versus writing the docs. And writing good docs is not easy. So having multiple eyes, people that are like highly involved in it, people that aren't at all, you get this kind of like you can't see what you can't see, which feels like a obvious statement, but if you're deep in the code and you just know the APIs, you don't think to explain some of the context that's needed for others that aren't aware of how these pieces fit together. So it's almost like you're focused on this one piece, and you just it's not always easy to be able to have the ability to see sort of like a grander view on how all these pieces fit together and how you need to explain to somebody to get them like to the point where you are at. And what makes it even more complex, we're working with both JavaScript and Rust, so the expectation of what backgrounds people have is much more varied than if it was something like if you're writing docs for like a JavaScript testing framework, or writing docs for like a Vite or something like that, because the in theory the audience there's a little bit more focused. When it's just any HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, it's very amorphous, like the type of audience to target with the docs. So, long story short, if you're interested in helping out docs, there's always room for people to help out with the docs. All right, I don't know if there's too much else that we need to poke around in here. Let's try a migration or an upgrade. They didn't within the blog release. We didn't have any like indications on how to migrate or anything like that. But I think we have pretty sure we got a guide. Upgrade and migrate. Yep. So I think what we're gonna end up doing is and like some of these like permissions, there might be more that we need to do with it versus not. So depending on the APIs that we're using in this case, what we end up doing now might not necessarily be what somebody else would experience. Because it's dependent on the APIs that you're using, it may or may not require more effort to do the lift and shift migration. I think for our use case, we're gonna migrate this one. This app was, and you know what? I think I have some features that I've pushed. I do. But not what I was expecting. Ah, okay. That makes sense. CSS formatting. Okay, fine, whatever. So part of what I was playing around with was the updater stuff. And this is all, I mean, public key. Pub key is public key, so it's like it's not revealing anything. But I was playing around with the new Crab Nebula stuff, which we'll see. We might see if we can try to do some of this on stream. Set up the updater for this. But until then, we're gonna stash this. Let's stash this because I might still want that pub key. Would you open up? There. No. I got it open already. Get a little bit bigger. Get stash. Okay. So let's read through the migration real quick. We're gonna kind of do the way that I personally like to learn or dig into docs is kind of let's go through a bunch of these pieces real quick, get a high level overview of like what we might expect. And if we run into issues, that gives us a bit of an anchor, a hook to know that like, if I see this might be an indication of something that I also saw in the docs. So whenever I'm learning a new thing or a new framework, what I'll do is I'll like look at the sidebar, get a good idea of like what the API surface is and what the docs look like, and then I'll start playing around with it. And when I work with a library or an API, I come to learn it faster than if I was just reading something or following a tutorial. The act of engagement in it really helps me. So by looking at the docs ahead of time and getting an idea of what the API looks like, anytime I run into anything, ideally I will see that and recognize something from what I saw in the docs, and I'll be able to like jump straight to where I saw the native docs, and that'll be sort of the memory hook, or the way for me to basically unblock myself. If I get stuck on a thing or I see something that I might recognize, it's a good like jump board into, oh, I saw this in the docs. I remember seeing this issue or this node. I should go look at the docs for this. So let's go through. There is automated migration. I think when you do, I think when we do the create Tauri app, I think that's still technically generating. I would have to look, so don't quote me on this. But I'm pretty sure that's still generating a V1 app and running the migration script. What's nice about that is we kind of get the early indication if something's going wrong in that migration process, because we want to ideally be able to help the community update and be on the new APIs quickly. We don't want a situation where we have some very difficult breaking changes which actually prevent migration paths. We want to be able to allow or make it easy for people to migrate, because that will help the ecosystem like stay involved and continue to move their app forward. If we don't give them a migration path, that's sort of like a fracturing moment where at some point you're going to be like, well, I can't upgrade. This is going to be a whole ton of work to deal with. Is it worth me continuing the app? Should I switch to something else? We don't want that. So having a clean migration path is very important. So I'm pretty sure that the CLI does that. I'm not gonna dig into it though. That's gonna be for another time. I think we mostly just do this. I'm gonna go ahead and install that. I'm gonna use the cargo Tauri migrate, just so I don't have to deal with npm at the moment. Let's look at the let's look at the summary of changes. Again, we've got a bunch of configuration changes. The migration utility, I think, is going to deal with a lot of this for us, which is going to be nice. Getting it's not rainbow puke. Oh, you know what? I don't think I really need to fix my shortcut. Something changed in OBS, and now it's not marked as top priority. OBS, where are you? Okay, hopefully that'll cut out any drop frames. Seems better. I also played around with my encoding a little bit. Kind of curious how that comes out. I'm definitely going to review the video here and the video previously. So let me know if you notice a difference, or if the experience is any worse. Because I bumped the bitrate, which means that the amount of information that I'm sending is more, but I don't want it to be so much more to where transcoding and that process takes a while. I don't want to have it negatively affect in that respect. So anyways, Tauri config has changed. Custom protocol request body parsing. Interesting. Okay. That's Linux. Okay, there's a shell plug, so some stuff was moved to the shell. Okay. Some more stuff moved to the notification plugin. System tray was renamed to tray icon. I think that the tray icon stuff was because of the changes with the allowing JavaScript side of things to handle some of the menus and the icons. I think that's part of that. That's embedded in those changes. Rust crate changes. So I think the migrate from, yeah, so there is, I guess this is the first one. If there's anything more detailed or more specific about it, there's a link to the migration step itself. We might have to deal with some of this. Process current binary, clipboard manager. I'm not seeing anything that we're going to specifically have to deal with. Setup with config removed, plugin API. What are you doing, Google? Go back to sleep. We've shifted around the structure a little bit. So the updater module is shifted into a plugin. So that is, I think that kind of started happening around V1. Well, maybe not V1, but like within the like V1 to like 1.5-ish. I think this stuff started happening where we were fleshing out the plugin system in a way that we could shift more things into the plugin, because that allows us to that allows the community to better be involved and make their own plugins if the plugin system is good enough to where we have official plugins or official like default features that are basically plugins now. So if they're all sort of communicating over that shared or that same channel, I think that makes it more extendable. The menu stuff. Actually, we might not need to deal with any of that, but maybe the system tray stuff. This, I think, for a couple of our different apps that we played around with, these are probably going to be the pieces that we're going to deal with the most. We didn't do too much with the files or the Tauri plugin HTTP. That might be something I actually want to look at. Because I'm definitely curious in exploring the use cases of that package. But anyways, for what we've explored on stream, I suspect that system tray and menu stuff is going to be the things that will likely be changing the most. Okay, so this is renamed to this. And again, shifting things around a little bit. So rather than this like nested slash clipboard path, we have like a separate plugin. Updater shall process notification, OS, HTTP. So basically all the like top level APIs that were like nested within here, they've been moved out into their own separate piece. So like if we look at one of these migration things, that's up. That one's different. What are we gonna use? Global shortcut. We might actually want to look at. We don't have global shortcuts in this app. That app, but we might want to. Either way. So Rust and then JavaScript. Use this plugin instead. So it looks like we're going to be adding a completely separate plugin. So environment variables have changed. I don't think these are necessarily going to be a problem, because I don't have any of these like hard coded, I don't think. This does use the event system quite a bit. This emit function now emits all events to all listeners, and there's an emit to trigger an event to a specific target. We can filter, and I'm assuming this is event target. Tauri event. Is this a Rust thing? Oh. Broken link is no. Okay. So this is linking to Rust. The Rust docs. So some of this might actually be Rust, and based on the snake case, probably. Snake case would be underscores. Multi-web view support. So we could turn on the unstable feature flag, and then we can get multiple web views. Do we want to use that? Probably not. I don't really see a reason for us to use this. And feel free to leave a comment below. Having multi web view in a single window, so like having 2 or 3 or more web views in a single window, I feel like the number of use cases is small. But feel free to leave ideas in the comments on what like things that we can explore on stream, because I suspect there's some out there that I'm not thinking of, and I'm definitely curious to see what y'all think. I can think of like one or two big ones, and that's about it. The main reason that I was interested in the multi-web view support was because it also opened up the ability to have other contexts or drawing layers within that same window. So it was less about having many web views and more about like a web view plus like a GL layer or something of that sort. But we'll explore that more. Okay, and then we're down to the detailed migration steps. So I don't think we're going to need the detailed migration steps yet. We're going to start updating, and then when we get stuck, we're going to kind of have an idea here of what needs to be given more attention. So let's go ahead and open this. Let's run this migration step. And automated migration. All right. So how's have y'all tried V2 yet? Any people lurking out there? Have you gotten into the V2 stuff yet? Definitely interested to see what everybody's thinking about the new Tauri migrate. I do want to do some more apps, like the mobile stuff on stream. I think that would be fun. All right. So we've got it's replacing this. It's installing. So we get an npm install. I think this was using npm, so I think it. I suspect this is probably the easier, happy path. But it did do an install for us after adding or changing those packages. And then it handled the cargo side of it. Failed to parse manifest. Interesting. I'm curious what that is going to be. So we see this one through. V2 beta, create type lib. So can't find library redacted. Rename file to source lib rs or specify lib path. So this is one of those. We're gonna double check back in the docs, but that was one of the. We got this like source main.rs, and I think that was one of the biggest things that changed, partly due to the mobile integration. Yeah, so the mobile interface requires your project to output a shared library, and how Rust handles and outputs libraries versus bins, etc., is partly dependent on your TOML file. So there's some level of like things that we can migrate, but also like, yeah, this I think has happened in some level, but it can't do this. At least it said it couldn't. So it did say it failed to parse manifest. So if we rename main to lib, it'll be shared. I don't think we have to. Okay. Got it. Okay. Zenko, you use the beta. You like it more than the V1, V2 alpha. New permissions in beta is better. Oh, great. I haven't actually looked at the new permissions too much. I just knew that those were a hot discussion item. Well, that's good to hear. I guess honestly, the last time I played with V2 was probably on stream when we did Jonas and I went through the Tauri mobile when we were in some level of alpha. I think maybe it was like when alpha was first released. We did Android. I think we played around with Android. So it's honestly been a little bit. I think it's gonna be fun to do some of these upgrades and see how they all shake out. So what we ended up having was, you guys see the note here. The idea is we shift our main.rs into a lib, and then our main.rs pulls in that lib instead. And that allows this like same code base to generate using the main.rs or this lib, the lib being the shared piece that hooks into all the mobile stuff. In our case, we don't actually need that. Because the idea of what we're doing here is it allows you to create multiple borderless windows. But the like use case on that on mobile, I don't even know if they have multi-window support on mobile. I mean, I guess that's something we can just like play around with and see what it looks like. But like, yeah, it's probably never gonna hit mobile or make sense to be on mobile. We'll change it though. Does it? So source Tauri, source main.rs, and we just switch it to lib. So we're going to rename this to lib, and we're gonna copy this and make a new main.rs. Are you building an app right now, Zenko, on top of V2, or is it just playing around with V2 to see what it feels like versus V1? It definitely seems like some people have like jumped on V2 and like gotten all the way to the point where they're pushing it broad, which is in some levels impressive. I need to make that notification go away because it's bothering me. Okay. Good, we're good. It's fine. And I updated my Camlink driver, so like I'm getting Rust builds here. Oh yeah, fine. I always forget about that. It's doing Rust things, and I was getting like a rainbow puke. This whole video thing would become just a mess of rainbow colors. But I upgraded the drivers and it seems to have fixed it. So fingers crossed. Because things are checking and it seems to be working. We'll see. We'll let some of that stuff finish out. Learn more about the migrate command. I don't know that there's too much else we can do. Let's everything seems to finish. I think this error is just because it's I'm not sure why Rust Analyzer is not liking that, but I'm not terribly worried about it right now. I am curious what these files are. So we get capabilities in a migrated.json. I didn't specifically see anything about this in the docs. But okay. I was gonna say I'm guessing that's permission related. So it works for individual plugins and is much more configurable. Yeah, we noticed that before. So part of the reason that we needed to allow more verbosity here is because we wanted to better support multi-window and remote URL support. Oh, okay. So we're looking at like ACL style. So you create capability files in sort of the source Tauri capabilities, and then it configures everything else. There you go. There we go. So that's why it's called migrated.json. It's created effectively an initial allow list based off of our original allow list that we had. And you can see we weren't being terribly specific because like I don't think we actually need all of that fast stuff. And probably a bunch of this we don't need. We do potentially want to add shortcuts though, so I'm likely going to leave those. Oh, we'll clean this up as we go. Okay, I think that's... Is that it? This gen stuff. Let's search for schemas. I didn't recall seeing anything about schemas. I think the schemas have to do with the code gen stuff for mobile, but I'm not certain, and I don't see anything in the migration notes or the docs about it. So that might be something that we want to come back around to and to define a little bit more as far as the docs go. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Tauri.configuration. So the other thing here, we have a separate configuration for Mac. I don't know if the migration script is going to touch that. We did this specifically because decorations on Mac is a private API. Entitlements. So where's the Windows? Windows. So these were part of the important bits, but part of it is we wanted a different title bar style. Yeah, okay. So, and we might be able to change this a little bit because the multi-window support has changed or has improved. The way that Mac was handling the window decorations, where basically we had to use some private APIs and the styling was a little bit different, that it made sense to split it out. But we might have some more control over that now, to where that's not a necessity. All right, I think we're good. I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and run. I don't recall what our scripts are here. Actually, here we go. We can do it. npm scripts. I always forget that that's the thing. Oh, npm script. Oh, npm run. There we go. If you're using a newer version of npm, you can do npm run, which I think I have aliased actually. Yeah. And it'll give you a list of all the scripts, which is so good. Because usually I cat her. In this case, I'm on Windows, so I'm using bat. My package JSON so I could see the scripts, which is not the best of experience, but it is what it is. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do npm run Tauri dev. Font here. Okay. Additional properties are not allowed in dev URL and front-end dist were unexpected. Okay, so we have an error in bundled, and we have an error in additional properties are not allowed. So app, bundle, identifier, product name, version, which feels like everything. App, build, bundle. I can't tell if this is saying these are unexpected values or if... I can't tell if those are expected values or not. I think I'm actually going to... Here. Let us stage these changes. Then I'm going to try running the migration script again. I wonder if it's going to pick up on any of the other stuff. No. Oh? Okay. So my permission set has changed. Which is interesting. The configuration hasn't. Let's go back to the upgrade from Tauri V1. Oh, you know what? I didn't do this. I should have done that first, and that's, I mean, part of that is it's on me. Like we might actually just want to put a note here saying that we can't rename, so like do this ahead of time. Now that I know that it's gonna hit that error, I think the intention is, okay, we're gonna discard all. And then I think the intention is reading it top down. We literally do this rename first. Do this rename first and do this. So set this up and then run the migration. Because we hit an error in our migration, I suspect what happened was the full migration didn't finish. And that's why some of those configuration changes are not done. So rename that to live. I mean, it says append to the following block, but it also did that for us. I don't know that we need to do that, but I'm guessing that what we want is the rename. So we have our lib. We need to switch the lib to be a, we go like this. And this, we want to close all this stuff out. So we have some configuration values here. This looks like it's the same on the main. I'm guessing we want this on our main. Run your code here. Ab. Okay, maybe not. Let's give this a shot. I think we're looking at something like this. And then in our main.rs, whoops, main.rs, keyboard was like slightly turned. It was enough to just like scribble a chain of letters here. Yeah, so this isn't actually going to start working out until our cargo is updated, which I think our script is going to be okay with. So if we do cargo Tauri migrate, what are we looking at now? So this will do some installs. There we go. No error. So I think that is actually the intention here. And it looks like our configuration has changed. The question is, has it changed in a way that will resolve any of those errors that we were getting? We still do get the Tauri API. I don't think we're actually going to need that anymore. I'm going to just hide my screen for one moment. I'm going to open up those. There we go. Okay, we're over there. We're good. Yeah, I'll just do them here for now. We're gonna add some notes. Migration script notes. I suppose I can pull this over. There's nothing much going on here. I'm just gonna jot down some bullet points so that we can kind of help out with the migration process. Make it the migration docs. Make it more clear that changing the lib file name is a requirement for the migration script. So the idea here is that I kind of saw the mobile stuff and I went, I don't really need to worry about mobile right now. I don't like it's not something that this app is necessarily going to support. So I kind of just skipped over it. But the migration script requires you effectively to do it. So make that clear. Then the next thing was here. Otherwise we get an error. So I think that I'm pretty sure this is basically going to be our main.rs, and now everything's just going to go in lib.rs. If I recall correctly from when we were playing around with the Android stuff in V1 or V2 alpha a while ago. I'm going to just jot down. So does everything go in main.rs, or excuse me, does everything from main.rs now go in lib.rs? And then the last little bit, this migrated. It didn't remove the @Tauri apps/API dependency though. It still points to a V1. Let's pull that back over here. So I'm pretty certain we just straight up remove that. I suspect that that's going to be the call here. So we'll go ahead and run a quick install again. And then we're going to do npm run Tauri dev. Let's see if we get a better. Okay. Still getting the same error. So a completed migration wasn't enough to migrate all of our configuration, at least for this project, which honestly I am not surprised by. Along with the docs, I suspect that this script is going to be more and more refined, so we can catch these like edge cases. It's not. I mean, we're basically modifying like user space code. It's not always easy to know exactly how somebody's going to configure stuff and like keep that all in mind when you're running code migration. So error unbundled. Additional properties are not allowed. So on bundle. Oh, build. Okay. Front end dist is not expected. Are we? I mean, it also says V2. No versions found. Interesting. Tauri plugin OS. Let's go to crates. Tauri plugin OS. I don't know. Seems to be there. Let's just do a cargo check again. Kind of poke it to update this. I suspect this might just be like their index or something hasn't updated. Yeah, I'm not sure. Also, like Rust Analyzer's having troubles with this workspace. And I'm not sure why. I thought it worked now with that like nested source Tauri folder. I mean, it says it's building now. I guess we'll just let that run. Let's look at the configuration. The Tauri configuration. So the bundle was moved to top level. Go to our configuration here. Excuse me, build is what we care about. Build distr was renamed to front-end dist. Okay. And dev path was renamed to dev URL. So those appear to be correct. I'm not sure why we're getting that error. And then let's try running it again. I'm wondering if we're getting like old cache type stuff going on here. Okay. Error unbundled. Additional properties are not allowed. So we're running npm Tauri dev. That comes from the CLI. So it didn't migrate the CLI either. It also didn't migrate the v1 CLI as part of package.json. Okay, so that's the reason we're getting the errors. We are running npm run Tauri dev. That is running the npm dependency, which is the Tauri app CLI, and that CLI is still on v1, which has embedded into it checks to make sure that the configuration that you have set conforms to the expected structure. So the errors that we're getting are actually the v1 CLI saying, hey, your configuration's wrong, when in fact we're intending to have this project be a v2 Tauri app now. So the problem is that it's verifying the configuration based on the v1 structure still. So let's go ahead and bump that. I'm guessing it's probably going to be at this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that for now. I'm pretty certain that's going to work. The caret. Let's actually check that real quick. Semver calculator. Semver is hard. Semver is very hard. It seems easy, but it gets complicated when you start looking at specific like version ranges, especially around like betas. So if you do just a single value, you get that. If you do something like the star, you can see all the versions. So you can see we started at v0, we got all the way up to here. But like this doesn't include pre-releases. So the only way you can get that pre-release is if you do something like this. We can also do a tilde. And if we look at something like v1, let's do 1. So beta 0 with a tilde will take you all the way to stable, but also all of the patches too. So like using a version range of this is actually going to automatically upgrade you to stable. If for some reason you like rejigger your lock file and like that specific lock gets removed. So if you just do like npm add this, you're actually going to get this, which isn't, I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just not always inherently obvious when you're working with like pre-release versions. So if we go, I think, I mean, even if we do something like this, we'll get all the betas too. And we did, I think we actually got caught by some of this kind of stuff. Can we even get the alphas anymore? Because the switch from beta to alpha was, we ran into issues where how we designated the pre-releases, the like automatic upgrade process didn't work. It's not easy. Okay. Either way, we basically confirmed that this is going to give us what we need. So I think even if we do something like this, that's technically still going to work too. And this should also get us all the way to, like, if we look at V1, this, and again, not terribly obvious, here we did like a beta RC. And then we had, we had betas, and we had RCs, and we had beta RCs. I think we went beta to beta RC, and then we went to RC. But you can see left to right is increasing in number. So this is actually what happened. We did the betas, I think. We'll see how. Well, I think my memory is serving me correctly here, but that's been known to not be right. I think we went beta to beta RC to RC, and what caught us was the sorting. Beta RC actually technically came before beta. So if we do a designation like this, this actually gives us all the way to the stable. So we can, I mean, I don't know that I want the actual like default upgrade, because there are going to be potentially migration paths. So like we could actually do something like less than 2. I think maybe like this. What's the syntax for it? You need the space. We want to do a range, so we're going to do. Got it. So I need a space between them. Oh, there we go. So this would, if we switch this all back to V1, that's just going to get us to the RC. So it's going to give us like the most recent RC. So if we do something like npm outdated, when we're looking at this, we can see that we are interested in getting that we can see our current version. So we haven't actually done the upgrade yet. So that's why our current is still this. What we want is here, and this is the latest. So when we do this, this will show up under our wanted. And then, current versus latest. So the latest that we could potentially get would still be RCs. So I'm gonna, it probably, like, honestly, it doesn't really matter. Because we have a lock file. That's gonna, for the most part, keep it in place anyways. So what I prefer to do is, rather than running like a npm upgrade and just bumping the lock file, I'll also bump it here because this is easier to read. So like this technically doesn't matter, but it's more of a communication tool than it is really semantics. Somber joke, right? Okay, all right. Continuing. Let's give that a shot. We should be on Tauri CLI v2 now. And we're not getting that error because we have upgraded our CLI from v1 to v2, which the migration script didn't do for us. And then that means that the configuration error that we were seeing was actually v1 CLI thinking it was running v1 Tauri app, when in reality we had configuration that was for v2. Okay. So it looks like we didn't get this one updated. That is a very helpful error though. It is in window creation. So this I think is actually a Vite. That's actually a Vite error, I believe. I'm gonna go ahead and just put it outside of the bullet point because it's a little bit easier. Just drop that in here. Okay. So Tauri Apps API window. We want to look at what are we looking at? We're configuration. No. We're looking at window. So remember how we said when we sort of skim through the docs, we're looking for like hooks. That when we see an error, we can make that connection that we saw this in the docs that we need to come back to it. So I knew that I saw something about the window API. Now we're looking at it. So on the JavaScript side, the WebView window class is now exported in the Tauri Apps API WebView path. So it's actually under this. Oh, we still do need API. So that was actually right. And we have now since uninstalled this. Okay. I need a button. I need a button. Yeah, where do I got that? There. Okay. I need to move that. That's not a good place to put it. No. I want you to refresh. Refresh. There we go. Yeah, okay, maybe that might work. Anyways, we still need the Tauri Apps API package. Is what that comes down to. I'm gonna kind of just do this, copy paste, and I'm gonna just undo a couple times because that's gonna be the fastest way, I think. It didn't actually upgrade it though. So we're gonna grab this, and we are just gonna do this, and this, and this. And I copied it poorly, so we gotta fix. Okay. So npm install. Let's give it another shot. So I think my note prior that it didn't remove this. Actually, this was correct, but it didn't migrate the web view. The web view import. Or no, the let's say the window. Here, I've got literally got the text right here. The web view window class import. Okay. Build failed. Failed to run custom build command. Okay, so we've got a bin. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this because I suspect that is something else that we're gonna wanna take a peek at. Now, do we have any notes about that? The remove cargo features. I don't think this is specific, like this error is effectively, if we look at our cargo.toml, we believe we don't have a bin. The bin target in package has the same output file name as the lib target. So lib create type. I don't see any other, we don't have a bin. I was expecting to see a bin target. Let's go ahead and check out the preparing for mobile section again. So we need to change our crate to produce the artifact along with the desktop executable. Okay. So it's saying append this, but the migration script didn't include the name. Seems that the migration script didn't include the lib name. Okay. Am I fine with that? I guess maybe I just call it a redacted lib. Probably fine, eh? So I'm guessing, I think what happened is we named the main package name is redacted. So if you don't specify a separate bin name, I'm guessing it's using that. And what was happening was we have effectively like a bin name and a lib name being the same. So by doing redacted lib, we've basically like named them separately. I think that's the name collision that it's having a problem with. So if we run that again. Okay, feet is going. Is that further than we got before? No, about the same. It is compiling though, so we do have some compilation going on here. It compiled further than it did before, but we're still getting a build failed. So there's something else that we need to deal with. So a bunch of permission things. Fail to run custom build command caused by this. Build script build. Okay. Fortunately, that is not terribly helpful. Hey John, good to see you. We are trying a V2 upgrade. We're making progress, but we're still in an error. The failed to run custom build command. And unfortunately, the other errors, well, fortunately, the other errors were a little bit more clear on what the actual issue was, but here, okay, so fs allow read file not found. It's expecting one of these. Oh, okay. So that big blob of stuff is actually, so if we copy that, okay, I can search in this, right? I thought I could search in the find, read. So fs allow, we're looking for a read file. So there's something else that's similar to it. That's what is with this search? Can you see that? It's just like updating this. Oh, it's going way back. Okay, thanks. Okay, Windows Terminal, a lot better than previous iterations of stuff. Still has things that I don't know. I guess you could qualify them as shortcomings. Okay, we've got only one. Okay. I think what's happening. We have this. No. Interesting. Okay. Permission fs allow read file is not found. It's expecting one of these, but I don't see any fs. So like the options that it gives here, I don't see any file system. There's no fs. I think that is because of the features. I believe in the features. We would need to define file system. I think. That's my guess. Just based off of memory here. But we don't actually need file system access in this app. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove it from the migrated permissions. I guess we're just going to... I don't really need it to say migrated, so I'm going to just switch to be foundation. Identifier. So that, like, my thinking here is the foundational permissions that were migrated from v1. So my process, my thinking process here is that we have a like base or foundation permission set, and then using multiple other permission files, we could configure like specific plugins or specific use cases. Vitor, is it Vitor? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. And just blanket statement: if I mispronounce anybody's name, feel free to correct me. I don't want to. I think it's important to properly pronounce people's names. Like it almost feels disrespectful if I'm not at least trying. I'll try. I'll at the very least try to pronounce it correctly. But I'm a human. I'm not gonna get it right on the first try, nor am I gonna necessarily be able to pronounce everybody's name correctly. But I will do my very best. So I'm glad I seem to have gotten it right. We are Vitor. We are migrating a v1.5.3 Tauri app to v2. So I think file system is a feature stuff, or is a feature thing. So what it's basically saying is you don't have this feature enabled, but you're giving the permissions. So like that permission shouldn't exist. Like it doesn't actually exist in the code base because it's basically compiled away because you don't have the feature set. I think what's happening. That's my guess. But we don't need it. Okay, kind of the same thing here. We don't need shell. I'm actually a little bit. What was our? Let's look at our previous. I think our allow list might have just been pretty open. Allow list all true. Yeah. So like, we got the full default allow list. So basically, what's happening now is it just gave us everything. That permission, foundation, like the foundation.json. That's everything. It's the full gamut. We don't actually use it all, and to use it all anyways, we need to have the features enabled. So with the errors that we're seeing in this big blob, based on the features that we have defined via our cargo.toml, so like this features, that is what determines the possible permission set. And since we don't have some of these things listed as a feature, the permission set is this. Well, I mean, I deleted some, but this used to be the full list. But the feature set is basically saying like that's not actually part of the list because you don't have the feature enabled. So we're gonna have to probably do this a few times. Feature allow execute. Or shell allow execute. We don't need any of the shell stuff either, so we're just gonna take all of that out. Where are you? Shell. Dialogues we might want. We don't want web view allow print. Yeah. Come say hi to the stream. Come say hi to chat. Kitty. Just yesterday, you were developing a Tauri v2 and you're struggling to understand the new permission system. So it's a ACL, access control list. Permission, where are you? Permissions. Permissions here. This new system works like an access control list. So you get allow and deny commands, and you can allocate specific permissions to specific windows or domains. So if you're at all familiar with moderating or setting up roles in something like Discord, or I guess that's more RBAC, right? Role-based access control. RBAC versus ACL. Okay, this is pretty good. What's ABAC? Unlike RBAC. Okay, so role-based access control versus ABAC, which is attribute access control, I guess. I haven't actually dealt with ABAC much of it all. What is ACL used in then? I'm trying to think of what is ACL is used in. Yeah. Okay. I mean that makes sense to me. Yeah. So I guess that's probably the key way to think about it. The RBAC is more like when you're trying to set permissions for an organization, you can attach permissions to specific roles, and then you're grouping people into the separate roles, and they could have multiple roles, which then grants them the permission of each of those like pieces. But when you're talking about an app that's running on a specific user's computer, when you're talking about an app that's running on a specific user's computer, you're not defining these things or grouping them as far as like roles, because you're sort of dealing with one specific like logged in user account, and that's where ACL is a better implementation. So like if we look at, okay, really? Come on. Come say hi. Ugh. Meow. Now I can't scoot in. Ugh. Tail, being attacked. Yeah, sit your butt down. I don't know why. She has this thing with licking my green screen. Which I just like, because I've got monitors just to make sure that the video's lined up. Licking my green screen. No, not you. Anyways, I just see movement. I just see movement like in my peripherals, and it's just it's grass. I don't know, maybe. She likes all this like weird stuff though, like bags, and my daughters have the dresses. They have dresses that have like the like sheer material on it. She likes to lick that. She likes to lick that and bite it. I don't know. I think it's there's a some condition or whatever that some cats have that that's something they do. Anyways, okay, so context windows. So this is where like we can, does this permission apply to many windows or just the main one? And different platforms too. Okay. So, because we're not really defining roles, we care about like specific pieces of data. So that's where the idea of an access control list is, and basically you can like have multiples of these. So you can have like an access control list for your main window and your separate windows or your plugins, and you basically when you do an interaction, your interaction is basically run through this like merged set of permissions, and depending on like what code path you go down determines like which permission set you ended up like getting checked in. So okay, so shell not needed. What else do we got? Dialogue. I don't think we're gonna need dialogue. Let's just let's scrub a whole bunch of this. OS allow platform. I don't know. Allow restart, allow exit. We might need that. We don't need the clipboard. I think we do want show and hide. We don't really need all of this OS level stuff. I think we might be using the platform somewhere. I don't remember, so I'm gonna leave that in there. I do want to do at some point global shortcuts, but we'll have to come back to that. Those are probably fine. Windows are probably fine. Do we have a tray in this? Source lib. We don't have a tray, so let's get rid of the tray. Technically we don't have the menu, but we might want to come back to that at some point. I'm gonna presume no. Path. I don't think we need path. I'm not sure what app default is. We use events. Window. The window stuff, we might want to slim down. Ideally, this list gets a lot smaller. But like some of this stuff, probably want to be able to do this. Okay, I think the cat's done. Let's try that. Let's try that. Oh, save. The HTTP default. Okay. I don't think we really need that right now. Let's go ahead and take that out. I see the reason that they're doing this. Like, I see the reason that they're outputting all this, but like, it's not. There's a lot of stuff here. Notification default not found. Okay, I'm fine with just taking notifications out. So some of this too, like, I'm saying that we want to do global shortcuts, but like, it's not going to happen immediately. So it's probably better just to remove it for the moment. Yeah. Okay. Presuming it is going top to bottom, we're getting to the bottom of the list. I'm assuming that's sort of what we're doing. We're looping through this list and hitting an error. Allow restart not found. Okay, so process. Let's take out process. Oh, hey, okay, we're getting further. Function greet is never used. Function run is never used. All right. How goes the V2? We're doing a migration. It hasn't been without issues, but honestly, the issues that we've run into I've been able to figure it out with like very little context or peeking back at the migration docs so far. We have a little list of things that we ran into that we could maybe deal with more cleanly in the migration script or in the docs. But like, good job, team. We're doing good so far. Okay, function greet is never used. Those are warnings. I'm not going to deal with those at the moment. Failed to resolve. Use of undeclared crate or module applib. So we had that conflict here. So we renamed that. It defines this as applib, but it didn't actually put that in there. So when I put that in there, it changed. So we need to lib run mobile entry point. Oh, main rs. This. I think we got to do that. Pretty sure that's it. Oh, it's gonna rebuild first. What is the best way for styling the U Leptos Tauri stack? If servo completely implemented on a Tauri project, then Tauri app can be styled as Flutter. Ooh. Okay. That is not an insignificant answer. Let's break it down a little bit. U Leptos plus Tauri stack. So basically Leptos is going to I'm presuming it's U/Leptos. So one of the like a cargo or excuse me, a Rust implementation of a builder to create like the HTML CSS plus Tauri. So basically we're handling our styling an HTML in Rust. So that's the first part of it. Complete cargo Rust stack. The second part of this, if servo completely implemented, so if you're using servo in a Tauri project, then the Tauri app can be styled as Flutter. So that last bit I think is the part that's loaded. Servo. Okay. So a Tauri window. Oh, it's still. Could not compile due to previous error. Private function. Ooh, okay. We're gonna have to dig into this a little bit. Tauri app. A Tauri app is you can kind of group it into maybe like 3 pieces, I would say, which I guess end up coordinating with the 2 low-level libraries and then the overall piece. Tauri, and then Tauri create. Tauri is sort of the umbrella piece that has like the updater and the builder and the plugin system that ties pieces together. It's the glue, it's I guess it's basically the glue code. Then we got Tau and Rai. Rai handles the web view. Tau handles the window. The window is like the Chrome, the piece around the outside that contains the web view. In V2, we've done some work to separate those a bit to where a single Tau window could have potentially multiple web views. The web views coming from Rai currently are system web views. So on Windows, you get basically Edge. On iOS, you get, or on Mac, you get WebKit, which is like WebKit WK or something like that. On Linux, you get WebKit GK or WebKit GTK. Yes. So we got like the 3 different. I'm reusing. So we have another layer here. That web view is now 3 different layers, depending on the operating system. And now that we're expanding into mobile, each of those has its own web view implementation as well. An alternative to using system web views is doing something like the Electron ecosystem does, where you have you embed the full Chromium browser effectively. So CEF, Chrome Embedded Framework. You're basically pulling along a whole browser to act as your web view instead of using the one installed in the system. So what we've been experimenting with Servo is Servo being an alternative to something like CEF. So that being said, if we completely implemented Servo, it would mean that Servo could replace the system level web view. So you're still doing Chrome, the window, and putting web view inside of it. Now, can be styled as Flutter. So if we look at something like Flutter, so Flutter is it can do mobile web desktop, very similar, and some embedded do stuff. I didn't know that. They've been putting a lot of effort into Flutter. It's pretty nifty. So you get Flutter. Flutter is sort of like and I'm like not deeply. I don't have like a deep understanding of Flutter. But as far as I understand, you're basically like Flutter ends up working through Android, SwiftUI, UIKit, React Native to create the app. So Flutter uses Dart, and I think it's generating. Flutter is different because it only has a thin layer of C code. So it handles everything in Dart. And then I think that those Dart pieces are then compiled into like native widgets. I'm pretty certain. So it's built with hi, you're back. Nope, you're gone. All right. Flutter is built with C, C++, Dart, Skia, and Impeller. Architectural diagram. Oh, nice. Okay. GPU. Yeah, so like we're getting, well, there's basically, as I understand, there's not really web view involved with Flutter. You're writing like this bespoke UI framework. Back. You're writing like Dart to create this bespoke, using their like bespoke widgets to do your programming. Why are we looking at Flutter? Previous question. Well, a little bit up. So basically Flutter, you end up doing Dart, and then you get like native code effectively out of that. And that's there's reasons to do that, and having the native code, there's potentially value there. But now your subset of design possibilities are limited by what basically Flutter supports. So what is particularly interesting about doing something with a web view is that your ability to design is based off of the HTML and CSS that's supported in that web view implementation. And HTML and CSS, that design system has seen a lot of energy put into it. So it's really good on multiple levels. The accessibility of it is really great too. So you have like multiple aspects of, and lots of energy put into HTML and CSS, which is why it's really a really nice language and setup to design in. Now, if you're coupling that to Servo doesn't have everything implemented. The reason to use Servo, I think, at least in the near term, would be if you have a full stack written in Rust, there is a potential situation or future where you could basically compile all the pieces out that you're not using. And I'm not saying this is like something you can do now, but I think one of the reasons that Servo is interesting to me, and I think a possibility, is that you could say, well, I'm not using any of this like I'm not using any JavaScript. I'm going to do it all in Rust. I'm going to have a button click that then gets sent back to the Rust side of things, like little event watchers, and that's it. You could like theoretically compile a whole bunch of that stuff out. It would give you a smaller app, maybe not smaller than using the built-in system of view, but also from like a security standpoint, I think there's interesting use cases there. Like if you don't have code, that code can't be exploited. So if there's like whole chunks of your app, or whole like pieces of the WebView ecosystem that you're not going to use, and you can just remove it, that's a whole different set of attack vectors that you've effectively removed. So I think there's interesting use cases there. So coming back to your original question, if Servo completely implemented on a Tauri project, then can it be styled as Flutter? I'm assuming, I guess my assumption here is that you're talking about this Flutter. I mean, you could theoretically do it now without Servo, and it's probably going to be easier to do it without Servo because Servo doesn't have all the APIs implemented. I think you can actually do, there's like a Flutter web, isn't there? Not saying this is something that I would necessarily recommend. I mean, there's like a Flutter for React Native. I kind of wonder if you could basically just like build Flutter into HTML and CSS. I don't know. They're definitely two very different use cases. And there's going to be use cases where native is going to be needed, or there's going to be a value there over using a web view. But the ability to create a web app and then without too much effort also put it into a desktop app or a mobile app, different use cases. Use the right tool for the job, right? Anyways, okay. So that was why we were looking at Flutter. I'm again assuming that's the Flutter we're talking about. G Tauri. I'm not sure if DHRUB is a like alias or not. John, if you know Theo user making mention, don't use Flutterweb ever. I'm not. I don't have enough knowledge to really make that call, but from what I've seen of Flutterweb, it was experimental and not something I was ever interested in using. And considering I just don't see it prominently displayed on the homepage, makes me presume that that's still the situation. I mean, it's the same issue that Tauri has. If you have a huge audience with lots of different like code paths, it's very hard to support. So having, I mean, it's sort of a in many aspects, if you're making an app or you're making a SaaS or something, if your audience is huge, your funnel is huge, you have lots of potential people coming in and looking at it. But that also means that you now need to somehow serve that huge, massive audience in a way that's going to bring value to each and every one of those. It's easier to have a specific niche because you can more clearly define what is going to bring value to that niche and serve them well, and then adopt additional niches as like bandwidth allows. And ideally, some of those are going to start overlapping where I have this basic code and that's my funnel. Here, we'll go this way. A little bit better funnel. I'm going to like expand my funnel slightly, but there's overlap. So like I just need to do this additional code, and now my funnel is potentially bigger. So, I mean, I can understand why Flutterweb would not succeed, because it's a huge undertaking. It's a huge undertaking. Okay. Anyways, thanks for stopping by, Zupam. Upgrade. We had errors. How are we doing? We're at about 2 hours. I think we can probably finish this migration. Yeah, I don't seem to have any pressing messages at the moment. Let me just check real quick. Let's see if we can finish this up real quick, and then I think we're going to call it. All right. Function run is private. So this seems to be the blocking error right here. The function run is defined in that. Okay. So that is marked as private. Why? Hub function run. Okay, so if we look at the changes here, it does say this, and I just changed my original code when we renamed it as per this was just function run. So it needed to be pub function. It's saying that I don't use greed, but it's definitely there. I'm thinking that's probably going to be fine. So we'll let the rebuild happen and we'll see. Hey. Okay. We're getting the other window. Too many monitors. I don't think we got the other window. Expect console. Request a module does not provide an export named app window. Okay. So let's close all this. We did have a little bit of code in here and here. Some of this has code that I suspect our like migration script is not going to end up touching. So the error that we were seeing that I apparently closed, Tauri Apps API window does not provide an export named app window. So that's in window controls. Okay. So we changed this one. So WebView window is now part of this. Window controls. So Tauri Apps API window. If we look at this, what is this exporting? App window in logical position. Are we still getting the logical position out of here? Logical position. Okay, it seems to be. Yeah. If we look at the main export, we get a get current, get all, physical, logical position. Okay, so just that app window might not be in there. I think it might be renamed too. Again, when we were first looking at the docs for migration, we saw that there was a whole section in here about window. So we've done this. On the JavaScript side, the WebView window class is now exported, so that should be fine. We don't have any other nodes there though. JavaScript API changes. The global shortcut FS, clipboard, CLI. Only the previous path, event, and window modules are exported. Okay, so everything else is moved. So window is still part of it. And we do still import, I think, from apps API window. Do we have the JavaScript API up yet? Yes, looks like it. Okay, so if we look at the window, logical position, what are we using this for? App window is just like that existing window. Current monitor. We don't need the monitor. So get current. Get current would be, okay, get an instance of window. So I guess that's probably what we want here. Get all, get current. I'm gonna assume so. Whoop. Oh, wrong keybind. We're gonna do get current. And I think it's a function, so we're gonna do this. I think here we're gonna actually say const app window equals get current. And we'll replace those, and then that's probably fine. Okay, let's give that a shot. Oh. Give this a little refresh. Plugin OS not found. So we'll have to come back to that. But if I click it, post, bad request. Plugin OS not found. I thought we made the we did the migration for that. Let's go back, plugin OS. So that has moved out into a separate plugin. And we are using the platform. So I'm just on use effect, I'm just throwing a use effect for the platform function. So import platform from plugin OS. And like this is what we're getting. Await platform. I mean, theoretically that should work still. Uncaught in promise. Plugin OS not found. On window controls JSX. It's still possible that there's something not going on quite right there. It does seem to be pulled in correctly though. We might have to come back to that. So we're getting a post to IPC localhost plugin OS platform. Let's take that off for the moment. We are doing OS. So here we have a specific, like, if we're on Mac, then do this, otherwise just do this. And the reason we're doing that is for the buttons up here, which we're probably gonna end up replacing anyways. So we'll just see what happens. The cursor is a little bit weird here. You might want to look at that, but so when we click it, we get a post, and this is part of the changes to IPC. We can see. Okay, let's open it up over here. There was no guides. Upgrade and migrate from V1. Right? It was in the migrate. No. It was in the blog. Revamped IPC. So it's more reminiscent in function and performance to how WebView handles regular HTTP-based communications. So I think like this is what we're going to be seeing now in V2. That's the revamped IPC. So we're getting a bad request, which is interesting. Do we see anything here? Okay. We are getting this node. Node greet is never used. I think the commands have also changed slightly, and those don't get automatically migrated. Commands. I don't remember seeing anything with commands though. Event system. Alright, I'm not seeing anything that's jumping out there. Let's look at the... I don't know if we have the docs for the command stuff done. I don't need CLI. HTTP client, logging. Oh, this is nice. This, was it Zenko? If you haven't looked at the access control list under references, I wonder if that needs a name change. If you don't know it's an access control list and you're still thinking permissions, I think this is where you'd want to look though. Oh, we got a schema thing in there too. Cool. Yeah, that would be a good place to look. I'm curious if you're still struggling with the ACL stuff, if that's partly the reason. If you're looking for permissions in the sidebar, you might not be looking for access control list. So commands. I thought we had a command. Oh, here. Yeah, okay. Oh, I did see. And that's a stub. Okay. Let's go back to that migration. Upgrade, migrate. Do we have anything with commands in here? Okay. Not that kind of command. Process command API, use the shell plugin instead. That's not what we need. Okay, global shortcut, plugin shell, and migrate permissions. This new system works like an access controller, so you can allow or deny commands, allocate permissions. Okay. We might need to actually do that. But I'm not seeing anything about commands in here. I'm gonna just jot that down. So what we're gonna do to figure out the path forward here is look at the I think Create Tauri Apps already has commands. Oh, Create Tauri App. And I think we've got some V2 stuff in here already. So like if we look at right now, we've got it in React. So let's use this and this. You didn't run the migrate script. You changed the version to beta. Oh. Did you manually create the main.json in your capabilities folder, or did it just do that for you? So I don't actually see anything much in the template here. Peace. Okay, so capabilities, we do definitely have some, yeah, alpha. It created it for you. Okay, interesting. I kind of don't hate it. So this is like the default capabilities when you generate. Which Rust front-end framework you or Leptos better with Tauri? I don't know that there's specific. I don't know that I would say one is better than the other. Whatever you have used or is used to. We have looked at Leptos on stream. That was more for V1. That was a handful of months ago. Chris is in the chat too. Chris and I have talked a bunch about Leptos and the server-side functions, and we thought it would be interesting to. It would be cool to have some exploration around the server-side functions in Leptos. And when you're writing your code, you could write server-side functions, or like what in Leptos is server-side functions, and instead of like generating the pieces that you'd expect to work with Axum or like backend web server, instead generate the commands and wiring for the commands. So when you click a button, instead of having a server-side function fire off, you'd instead have a command fire out. So that's what you got inside of your main. Okay, I guess that makes sense. I could see where that would be a little bit confusing though. I feel like there should be some expectation though that you need to run the migration script. But I wonder if we could do something like, hey, we see you running, like if you in one spot, like if you're doing the cargo install Tauri, you've now installed the Tauri v2 CLI. If you happen to run, if you're using globals when you're running in multiple projects and you have one on v2 and one on v1, you might actually run the V2 CLI into V1 and then just get a file. Like all of a sudden you start getting V2 stuff creeping in there. That'd be a little bit weird. I can see it both ways, I guess. Okay, let's see, let's move this over here. We have a, we want to look at our Rust source story lib. So this is what's being generated. It doesn't say mobile. So this is the lib that's being generated. We get a greet, a Tauri command. I mean, at this point, like, we're not actually using that command. So that probably could go away. But I don't see anything that's specifically different there. We are getting a plugin shell and net. I don't think we actually need that though. And then there's a build.rs. Do we need that build.rs? Oh, we got one. We got one. We're good. We're good. We're good. I mean, yeah, okay. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. I think we've got these bits configured correctly. Here, let's terminate and we'll rerun it again just to make sure. When we are to build RS or not to build RS is the question. We're still getting that post though. Are we still getting those warnings? Okay, we don't have any of the warnings anymore. So I think all of that stuff is dealt with now. I don't think this is actually an issue anymore. So for some reason our IPC post is still not working though. The handler create a web view window. We should be creating a window. We should be creating a window that has this HTML file in it. So for some reason that event is not firing. There might be. Okay, let's look at the access control list. Multi-window. We need the Windows property defines the list of windows that should be referenced. So you can use glob patterns. I'm gonna just go ahead and presume that we want the same permissions. So when we are creating the windows, if we look in source window control, I think. Minimize, maximize, close, window creation. Here we go. So we are creating it with a W. Okay. If we go into here and we add to our windows, W star, just include all of those extra windows. Can you add your GitHub link into the description? Oh, did I not put it in there? This is the project that we're looking at. I usually put it in there, but there should also be links if you go to the main YouTube link. I should have links in there, hopefully. And if I don't, I need to fix that. Also, at some point, somebody subscribed. I just realized I missed that. I saw it pop up and I processed it and I was going to come back to it. Oh. Clamere? Mesquita Rocha. Glaherme. I hope I was saying that right. Thanks for the sub. Alright. Possible that that's the issue. And I think that's going to be the bit that's going to take a little bit to get used to, is the the new permission system, there's always going to be it's CORS. CORS is always an issue. That doesn't mean it's not valuable. When you're programming and you're doing web dev, you end up hitting CORS errors. So seeing it and understanding what's going wrong and dealing with that is like a skill that you sort of have to like develop. I think this is basically going to be a new skill that you have to develop. So the question is, when we see this, a 400 bad request, what is that signifying? I'm guessing it's something to do with this. So I don't want to further. So we have linked the capability of the main window and any window prefixed with editor in this example. So we did the same with doing our W. If we look at the post, can we see it in the network request here? Okay, so we're getting network requests and mouse move. I mean, I think there's air quotes there, network requests. But if we do, oh, that's gonna be annoying. Okay. So this is our payload. And this is kind of a nice thing too. We can see your label here. So does the label, I think when it says Windows for multi-window, like that is the label. So I think W star is correct. Create window. Bad request. And if we look at the response, permissions associated with this command. Okay, web view, allow, create web view window. There we go. So I think this is a little bit annoying to see, but the fact that like we have access to this and now as like DX, we can specifically like look at the network, but knowing to look at the network is a thing that we're gonna have to like remember. But we can look at the network and tab and more clearly indicate exactly what's going wrong. I think is kind of a big deal. Let's see if we can keep it in alphabetical order. It's one of those things that when am I ever going to use the alphabet? Okay, hopefully this does it. Hey, we got it. And close. There we go. It does take a hot minute to show up and then go over the top because it's marked to be always on top. And like technically these are both marked as always on top. And then we should be able to, it's adjusting both of them. So there's still a little bit of like, we might need to clean things up. So those like communication layers, rather than, like if we look at, what time are we at? 2:30? Okay. I'm gonna have to be ending here pretty soon. I gotta get going. We are listening to events, and we're getting payloads. So what we probably need to do is just listen to specific payloads. I guess let's just log out the payloads here. Event.payload, and we'll see what it says. So look here, and we are listening now. So if I do this, yeah, we get events. And if I do another one here, nice. If I change this color, see, we get the color for everything. So we're gonna need to start like scoping those somehow. When we do close, maximize, minimize, when we do window creation, we also have the set window color. Where is it? Button remove. Here, set window color. So we're setting window color and the window ID. So this would be our color change. So when we call this, we're doing a WebView.emit window color change, and then giving it a color. So we can probably do something like listen to the ID here. Let's look at the event system changes. Yeah. Emit filter now filters based on event target instead of window. So we can emit to trigger a function directly to the specific target. So if we do like emit to, what does it say? Okay. Ah, interesting. And what does emit to look like? So there's emit. Target. Is that all that we're going to need to do? That would be pretty sweet. Close. Let's just do a refresh. DevTools. Create. Change this color. Nope. Is there a Twitch stream as well? No, there's not. I know that's like all the rage now, but I am exclusively on YouTube at the moment. Partly ease of setup. I don't know. It's a decision I made, and that's how it is at the moment. Right. Invalid args event for command emit to. So invalid type map expected a string. Okay. We're gonna have to play around with that a little bit. I think we're close. It's just the little bits here, and we can fix this event stuff. I kind of think I want to get into the event stuff though on a later stream. So this might be something that we do next week. Yeah, I think so. We're gonna get going here, and I gotta get some stuff done, get some work stuff done, and I'm not sure what we're gonna end up doing the next few weeks. Let me restate that. I know some things that we're gonna do in the next few weeks, but I'm not sure the timing of them and when they're gonna happen. Yeah, work. Pesky work. We might end up doing this next week. We'll see though. This playing around with the event system and the changes there, and especially the network layer, I think might be something interesting to poke around with deeper. But we did get basically, I would call this a complete migration. Close enough. There's a little bit of the window communication left, but that's not too big of a deal. Honestly, it wasn't awful, but I don't have too deep of integrations. So I would say I'm happy with the process overall. And the errors and the warnings that we saw, we had a few of them. A lot of them were probably dealt with through the migration script. And some of them were just me skipping over the mobile section because I assumed it didn't apply to me, but it kind of did. Honestly, these errors weren't bad either. Like any errors that we ran into, we were able to figure out. And I think the like here, let's take off that permission thing real quick again. This is a JSON file, so I'm gonna have to remove it. I'm gonna do this. We're gonna let it rebuild real quick. I wanna highlight this network layer here real quick, and then we're gonna call it. So when you in Tauri v2 with the new permission system, also noted as the access control list, you have a list of permissions, and those permissions are now available to be set per window and have additional scopes. And the IPC or communication layer between the front end and the back end has changed as well, to where it's more of an HTTP style of communication. So when you are setting your permissions, if you don't have a permission and you're firing off communication that goes over the IPC layer, you will see a request go through and you'll get a bad response. Where this ends up being nice is you can look at the responses. Let's do a filter on what is that over at web view window? So we'll do web view. We can look at the response, and hopefully all of them are like this, because this is great. This is great. Whoever on the team decided to start doing this, like, big ups. It literally tells you what permission you're missing, and that's perfect. Knowing that IPC is going over HTTP now, and you can look at the network tab for that additional information, is something to keep in mind. Like, that's something you'll have to learn. But once you know that, like, this is going to be an amazing way to debug stuff. So big ups. I think that honestly, that's probably my most favorite of changes. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Inside a try catch, it should show the error inside. Yeah, and I guess that's also something you could do too. You know, depending on how you're doing your catches and that sort of stuff too. Or you know, if you're writing Rust or Leptos or whatnot, you're also going to have different ways to deal with errors there. But just the fact that it's kind of like, I mean, it was using the platform before, but just in a way that the like browser dev tools weren't really designed to help with. So we're getting a little bit more of the like using the platform, which is really great. So we have multiple ways that we can debug or see what these errors are and understand, like, as a lib writer, we can better communicate what the actual error we're seeing is. So like there's multiple layers there. Like doing a try catch in your own code is great, but if you catch, you write out an error that just is, you know, undefined. Like those classic undefined, this value is not an undefined error messages. What do you do with that? Like a response object that tells you what permission you're missing. Boom. Great. All right. Tentatively event stuff, V2 next week. But there's other things that we're planning. I need to get them all settled out before I actually announce anything. But keep an eye on the channel, and I should start scheduling stuff. So stay tuned. Have a great rest of the week. I'm doing a lot of pointing today. I feel very pointy. I don't know where I'm going with that. Have a good rest of the week. I'm pointing again. Happy Tuesday. Have a great rest of the week. See you next week. Bye, y'all.